Hey, I was going to reflect on my time in China. So I'm in Hong Kong right now. You can see behind me. So I was going to do one where I reflected on all of China as a whole because I go to Macau tomorrow. So I was going to do one where it's basically Guangzhou, Hong Kong, Macau. But after Guangzhou or Guangzhou, Guangzhou. Now I'm making myself second guess myself. I thought I'd make one just on Guangzhou, and then another one of probably Hong Kong and Macau. So Guangzhou, it, it was difficult. It was probably we've been to a number of countries. We're not like the most seasoned world travelers in the world. I wish we were, but we're not. But we've been to a number of countries. I think I've been to maybe 10, 11, 12, something like that. 12, maybe 12, 13. I don't know. Been to a lot of Southeast Asian countries mainly, and Canada, U.S., Mexico, and then the rest have been mainly Southeast Asian. We've been to most Southeast Asian countries other than like Brunei, Timor, Myanmar, and Laos. I think are the only ones we haven't been in Southeast Asia. Hopefully next year we'll knock off the craziest one you know the one you're probably thinking is supposed to be Laos, but I don't think it's gonna work. It's gonna be probably Brunei. But anyways, so we've been to a number of Asian countries, including Japan, Taiwan. So Guangzhou though was it truly felt foreign, which is a weird thing to say because obviously all these countries are foreign. But once you've been to say Thailand or Vietnam, we started in Vietnam was really our first. Well, I was in Hong Kong and Japan when I was in the Marine Corps, Okinawa. But we started in Vietnam, and once you've been to Vietnam and then Thailand especially, going to Malaysia, going to the Philippines, Singapore, really even Taipei, they don't seem completely foreign. They seem new. There's new things to understand. The way things work, the way people interact, the food, they're different, but they're still not this completely foreign concept. Like when we flew into Vietnam, it was completely foreign to us, right? And we had to kind of learn. We had to learn as we went. Oh, this works this way. Oh, okay. And now each time we go to a new place, it builds on that foundation that we've learned that we've acquired. But it's not like we step off the plane like this time. We stepped off the plane in the Philippines for our first stop on this trip. It was different, but we knew what we were doing. We figured it out. The learning curve was much smaller. Guangzhou or China, brand new learning curve. So Guangzhou to me is like Tokyo, except for the level is set to legendary. that's how I look at it. Because Tokyo, when I went there when I was a kid, I was in the Marine Corps, so I might have been a kid, and I was just dumb, right? I was just looking for girls and McDonald's. That's it. I went there last year, and my niece was there. My wife and I went there, and my niece was there, and she took us around and basically gave us like a locals tour the whole 5 days we're there. It was amazing. I mean, took us to locals places. She could speak the language enough to where she could get us by, and she gets by. She wasn't like 100% fluent, but she was very fluent in a day to day fluency. But on the times when we were by ourselves, it was still a challenge. Not that we didn't get around, not that we didn't go all these places, but it was still figuring out places like addresses are like not how you would think they are always. That stuff was difficult. Guangzhou was really difficult. Just figuring out how to pay for things. We finally figured out Alipay, which worked for most things. Trying to then figure out how to use the ride sharing. We use Grab everywhere else, Bolt, stuff like that. They don't have that. They have Alipay. You can use Didi, which is a mini app inside Alipay. That was a little bit of a difficulty. Food wise, I found lots of eat. May, she had trouble, and we knew this going in. It wasn't like some revelation. We knew this was going to be tougher for her because even though like we've eaten that Chinese for our whole lives, in the States, it's one of the biggest things you eat, right? It's not the same Chinese food, right? Chinese food in the States it's curated or it's changed to fit American palates. So you go there and get sesame chicken in Guangzhou, which I don't even know if they have sesame chicken. Maybe they did. it's not going to taste like sesame chicken. Or sweet and sour chicken is not going to taste like sweet and sour chicken. You're thinking of the taste is vastly different. So, which is usually not a big deal. We were in when we were in Cambodia. There are places there where she had trouble finding stuff to eat there too. Sometimes, but we had Grab Eats. And Grab Eats like Uber Eats. You literally just, what do you want to eat? Cheeseburger, or I want to eat pad thai, or I want to eat this, and it goes and finds restaurants, right? So they have that in Guangzhou. First, we had to figure out how you use that or what it is, and then we basically couldn't even ever get any of the food delivery apps to work at all, at all. We tried. I mean, relentlessly tried. It just won't work. So we couldn't ever call in any food. So we had to always find food. So she ended up eating McDonald's, I think 3 times, 4 times while we were there, just because. And one time we just went there because we first got in, and I like going to McDonald's and in foreign countries. I think it's disgusting and horrid in our country. But I love going to McDonald's and KFC and stuff in other countries and just seeing, oh, what's the new thing they have here? Because they always have something weird or something new. And like I went there and they had a black currant McFlurry and a purple yam, like a taro pie, stuff like that. But we had to go there a bunch for her, and she got pizza there at Domino's because she couldn't find stuff she liked. Which I said that's fine, right? But it's just being able to figure out how to like use the food delivery app, and so hard. Uh, we went to the pool at our hotel. You couldn't get in the pool unless you had a swim cap, so we had to go buy a swim cap. You couldn't even walk around the pool unless you were wearing sandals, and the only time you could have your sandals off is when you got in the water. So there's like all these really weird cultural type of rules. All that took adaptation for us, and it was a struggle. We went on a food tour, amazing, but the way that people interact with each other, and this is what was really highlighted for me on the food tour. Our guide, Kayla, amazing person, just a great human being, super bubbly. But even when we got to the first stop and we went, it's like a Michelin rated, like, but it's like very low. I mean, we were on this food tour for 3 hours, and I don't know if I saw another Westerner the entire time. Even when we went to Bruce Lee's father's house, there was no Westerners anywhere. Great, believe me, you've heard me on other videos. Like, dude, I don't want to be around much of me, and I don't. So we were in very local spots, but you can just watch the interlocals interact with each other. From our Western viewpoint, it looks very rude, right? Very just confrontational. But this is how they are. They're very direct to each other. Like my guy, I watched her in line. So a lady kind of queued up in front, and my guy was just like, oh, and the lady got back. She sat down at the table. We had this table. We were sharing it with some local people, and she just told the guy next to us, she's like, "Hey, move down." And the guy's like, "Oh," and he moved down a little bit, and she's like, farther down. I mean, it was like very direct. In America, dudes be like, "Well, what?" They'd be like swollen up. But that's how it worked. And he's like, "Fine." And we went and got this herbal tea. Disgusting. You tell them what's ailing you, like, "Oh, my head hurts, my neck hurts," and they brew a special tea for you. It's so bitter, it's gross. But the guy who did that, he sat down back. It's his shop. We're sitting in his shop, and he starts smoking a cigarette. And she's like, turn around, she's like, "Hey, go outside and do that." And the guy's like, "Fine." And he went outside. But it was so they're very not confrontational, but direct. They don't offer a lot of help, right? They don't see you just because you're, like, say, foreign, and I offer you a lot of help type thing. They will. So the culture is very, like I said, it can come off as rude. I don't view it as rude. I just view it as how they interact with each other, and I don't think they extend any special courtesy to somebody like me who's like a tourist, right or wrong. That's just the way I see it, and I don't expect it. It's nice. I sure love it when people are like, "Oh, let me help you out," which I call. I'll get to that a little bit. So that part of Guangzhou was very difficult. The ordering food part, and food is the whole reason I go on these tours. I literally write a daily blog that I send out to my friends and family, and I put on Facebook, and it's called, the Polish Burritos Food Tour, or Southeast Asian Food Tour 2020, whatever. And last year it started 24, 25, now it's 26. And then it's day one, day two. Each day is a new day and a little title and blah, blah, blah. So I literally, every trip I've gone on in the last 5 years, starting the last 5 years ago, I think, is based on food. I go on my places to do things, to do list. There are some like cultural spots I want to hit. Like in Hong Kong, I want to go to Bruce Lee's statue. I want to do a couple things, but it's really, I want to eat these foods because I feel like that's how you discover a culture. I figure that's how you commune with culture. That's how you converse with the culture. Even when you're not with people, I feel like you learn about that culture and converse with them through their food. So the struggle with ordering food was really tough, and I knew it was gonna be tough. They have QR codes, and so you can order a lot of things on your phone. It's great, but we just kept doing like QR code. We just like in the West, you put your camera, you do the QR code, and it pops up. That's not. It just kept getting error messages, and we couldn't figure it out. And nobody helped us, right? So nobody saw what we were doing. They're just kind of sometimes they bring us a paper menu. Yeah, here, here's a crayon, basically draw pictures, circle the stuff you want. And the very last day we were there, the day before, because we were leaving the next morning early, but last day we were there, we were at a place, and I just ordered this food, a dessert, and I was looking at the QR. I'm like, why is this working? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I wonder if I open up Alipay, which is the payment type app. And then I went to scan on Alipay because sometimes you scan QR codes at merchants, and that they'll put a price up, and you scan it, and then it just comes out of Alipay. I was like, let me scan it. I scanned it, bam, menu popped up. I could have just ordered it like everybody else around me. So I figured that last day. So is that their job to tell me? No, it's not, right? It's my job to figure out. Would have been nice if one person out of all the restaurants we went to had been like, yo, dipshit, what are you doing? You're whack, dude. There's click here. And I would have been like one time, I'm like, oh, that's great. So I mean, it would have been nice. I don't expect it, but it made it very difficult. It made it frustrating between not being able to get food for her, or order it in, um, not being able to use Google, Maps basically accurately, be not being able, and the people in general just not being overly friendly. And I said, I'm not saying they're being rude. I'm saying from their culturally wise, and we see this when we've been around Chinese tourists in a number of countries. It's just a very different cultural interaction than what a lot of Westerners are used to. So it made it very difficult. In the very last day, we took a cab basically to the train station, and the train stations in Asia are like LAX type thing in the US. They are massive. And so we got this train station, we have our luggage, and we're taking the bullet train. And it has a happy ending because the bullet train was freaking amazing. But we had to get off and first find out how do we get our tickets. And so we had to go up and down and back out of the building. And finally found this booth, and we tried explaining it. And the guy, he doesn't speak English, but he was cool. He had a little translator thing. And he showed it to us. And so we figured out, oh, okay, we don't need tickets. We just show our passports. We went back up. How do you get through the line to get into the area where you can get on your train? No instructions. And so finally I was like, let's just try this one. And they let us through with our passports. Now it's like, since we don't have tickets, there are no tickets. It's just all linked to our passport. Which train are we getting on? And this is a massive, I mean, it is huge facility. And there are terminals. There's got to be 20 plus terminals that are gates. And each gate has an A and B. And so we went to an information booth. We showed them our stuff, and they're like, and she's finally like 19, and I was like, all right, sweet. Started going down, and we started walk, and it's like, but there's a 19A, there's a 19B. So we went to another information booth, and she was cool enough to finally figure out 19B, or 19A. So it worked out, but it's so much anxiety involved, which is great because at the end of the day, we were like, oh, look at us, we got through it, and we got on the train. And again, how do you get on the train? How do you get? Because there's a line, and they're all doing cards. So I figured out, oh wait, I think we can go to this little special line and show our passport. So we were actually the first people on the train. So we got on the train, the bullet train. Such an amazing piece. Why the U.S.? Why we are such a third world backwards country when it comes to infrastructure. Japan's had bullet trains since I was a kid. This bullet train is so smooth, so fast, so efficient. Anyways, we got to Hong Kong. Figure out how to get in our cab pretty quick. Our cab on the way over to our hotel, he's like talking to us, cracking jokes. Every person we met here in Hong Kong has been nice. Shop owners, and if they're not nice, they're just like at least like, hey, well, they're basically they welcome you in, and they don't explain everything, but they at least have it enough where you can understand it. So coming from Guangzhou to Hong Kong, it's been night and day. I mean, it is a completely different experience. Do I regret going to China? No. And I would go back. I would go back to Beijing. I'd not go back. I would go to Beijing because I think Great Wall you can get there, or Shanghai. I would do that, no problem. But Guangzhou is very, it feels very inclusive, very. Unless we're in the hotel and a little bit down like where this park where we went and saw the Canton Tower, you really didn't see any Westerners. I mean, and this is a very big city. I think there's 20 million people or something like that. It's a very big city, which it doesn't seem like it when you're there, but it's a very large city. But it's very it's like it's basically you need to be a member of the club type of the town. It felt like, or you need to you need to be in the know a little bit more than say I think Thailand, Cambodia. There's a lot more hand holding involved. Like oh like we recognize that you're a tourist and we want to maximize. We want your money, not in a bad way, but we want So here, let me make it a little easier for you, so you can then basically buy what I'm selling or buy what I'm eat what I'm cooking, that type of thing, or use my service. Whereas in China, at least in Guangzhou, it was not like that. It was basically like if you can figure it out, I'll serve you. That's that. I mean, but it wasn't the attitude. I know when I'm saying that there's like, dude, but it was just kind of like figure it out. And if you did, and we did at times, we did a bunch, and it was amazing. But the other time, it was very frustrating. So, anyways, I don't regret going to China. I'm glad I've never been to China before, other than Hong Kong, which I don't consider Hong Kong China. I went there in the 90s before it was even passed back. Even now, I consider if you pass through a border and if you have to pass through a border and show a passport and get stamped in and out, I'm in a different country. So like when I go to Macau tomorrow, I'm counting that as a country because I have to go through immigration and that's a country. So I'm glad I went to China. I'm glad I can on my big scratch map. I have this big map at home. I pull it down, take out the frame, and scratch off China, the whole thing. So I'm glad about that. But it was definitely frustrating compared to Hong Kong. But I'm not like mad we went. I'm just as I recognized if you go there, just know it's not going to be quite as easy as almost any other country in Asia that I've been to, anyways, or especially Southeast Asia. They're they have like the kitty gloves on. It was like the bunny slopes, right? And this is like the real slope type thing. It's the rest of Asia. Like I said, they will handhold you a lot more, even if it's just their apps, even if it's just the way you're invited to shops or the way they are trying to get you to spend money with them or something along those lines. Let alone just people that are just nice. And believe me, there's so many nice and ridiculous, but just the people who actually want something from you, hotels, shops, vendors, they are they will facilitate your ease into basically using their service. Whereas in Guangzhou, like I said, it's very different. It's really like, and I can't say it's enough. Figure it out, and then yeah, you can buy this from me, but you figure out how to order it, type thing. Not the worst thing in the world, but just know it's not going to be as easy as it will anywhere else. But that's it. I mean, I don't regret it, and it was fun, and I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad now we're in Hong Kong. We get to Macau, and next year we'll do something cool again. We'll do a whole bunch of island hopping. Hopefully next year in Thailand, you're gonna see me in a bunch of islands. That's the plan. So thanks for checking out, and I'll reflect on Hong Kong and Macau next. See ya.